Okay, great. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today, and really excited to have you be here. I'm Kelly Roberts. I work in the Tufts Career Center, and I work with all students doing career exploration. I also work with the career community of government, international affairs, and policy. And another hat that I'm wearing is a liaison to the international office here at Tufts under the directorship of Andrew Shiatani. And part of our goal is to work together to find out and identify programs and things that we can do to serve you as international students. So I welcome all your thoughts and ideas. If you want to communicate with me after the session on things that we can do to continue to help serve you, I'd love to hear that. And I also love this session in particular today. My old past career was working as an international student advisor, advising lots of international students on about their immigration. So I am familiar with OPT, CPT, STEM in my old career in F1 students. So we are recording this session today, say October 13th in 2022. And we're talking today about using Interstride to launch your career locally and globally, specifically for you as an international student. And we're joined by Kendall Perez from Interstride as the University Partnerships point person. And Kendall's going to be talking today to you about how you can do job searches, find employers that sponsor H-1Bs, how to create your Interstride account. And so we will have questions at the end. So feel free, if you're thinking of them while we're going through this, put them in the chat. You can also write to me directly through the chat. You can also raise your hand and we can call on you at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kendall, and thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. And hello, everyone. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Kendall Perez. I'm going to take the next bit of time just to go ahead and demonstrate the platform for you, provide a good overview so it can really help you in terms of your own personal career journey and job search. So excited to be here. I was going to say good morning, but I believe it is officially good afternoon for y'all. I am on the West Coast, so a little bit of a different time. But yes, as we move forward, feel free to drop comments or questions in the chat. Myself and Kelly will go ahead and be monitoring that. So I want to make this session, I want you all to gain the absolute most that you can from it. So we will have some time at the end to go ahead and go over any questions that you may have. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to the Interstride training. For folks who may have already created a profile or who have already used this resource, Interstride is essentially, it is a global job search platform. So we were founded over 5 years ago. My boss, he's from Nepal, and he went to UC Berkeley. And when it came time for him to embark upon his job search process, he noticed that him and a lot of his fellow international friends had a lot more hurdles they had to jump through as compared to their domestic counterpeers. So the process of trying to help one another out, how can we remove or shorten these barriers, that is eventually what led to the creation of Interstride. Interstride was created as how can we help specifically international students on their career journey, on their job search process. So that's a little bit about how we got started. We're now in over 200 programs. We have almost 100,000 users on the platform, so it's very exciting. But a little bit of some key terms before we go ahead and get started, just to provide a foundation. So as you move forward through your own career journey and your own process, it's really important to understand some of these different terms as they may impact employment opportunities. So what is CPT versus OPT? CPT can be used essentially while you're in university, not post, whereas OPT can be used during and also post graduation. If you are within the STEM field, you can get another extension for your OPT for your own opportunity to still be able to be employed. And then also eventually leading to H-1B or green card. That is eventually what everyone will need to have full employment within the US. So if there's any questions about your own personal status with these or the differences between these different terms, there's a lot of different avenues you can take. We have some resources that I will go ahead and showcase you on the platform, but as Kelly mentioned, use the offices that are available to you at Tufts, your international support office, career center, whatever that may be. You're gonna have to excuse my cat. He's definitely gonna be wiggling around. As you embark on your process, there's specific challenges unique for international students. Some of them include US work authorization, right? This might be the biggest hurdle. So some strategies is just starting early. The fact that y'all are here is great. Taking the time just to go ahead and invest in understanding what's required of you, and know your different options. There's a lot of different options available at first. So again, just making sure that those conversations are happening. If you feel like there's a lack of professional experience, again, trying to get involved within your industry, whether that's doing different internships or speaking to professors. A lot of times professors are doing research on the side, or they're conducting their own projects. So try to see if you can get involved with those. If you feel like it's a lack of professional network, I want to say everyone in this room already has a very extensive professional network. Through your alumni program alone, you have tens of thousands of folks at your professional network. So trying to figure out a way to leverage those connections. And I'll show you how you can do that through the platform itself too, by linking your LinkedIn to your profile. And then also sponsorship challenges. So some ways to overcome this is looking at some of historic trends and data when it comes to companies hiring international talent. You can look through different filters, through either searching just through H-1B opportunities or through cap exempt opportunities, and also look at different alumni where they're getting hired too. Okay. And then lastly, immigration hurdles. So this is where you definitely want to have a backup plan. I would say it's good to have a backup plan for your backup plan, anything involving your living situation, and also exploring alternative options. So what do some of those look like? Some of those are sometimes getting transferred into a different international office, and then coming back to the US, or going through Canada, because a lot of times they have very similar opportunities, but they're a little less strict in their immigration process. So just exploring all your different visa and immigration options for you, seeing again if you can relocate to another international office. Who I mentioned, Nitin, my boss from Nepal, that was actually his pathway to citizenship. After college, he got a job, but he wasn't able to stay within the US. So they were like, we have an office in London. So he went and lived in London for a couple of years and then transferred back. So again, options are available for you. I wonder if the PowerPoints will be shared. Yeah, I can go ahead and share this with Kelly so she can go ahead and share this with you. This is my last slide. So but again, it's just important to essentially start early, know your terms, ask questions, and look at different options available for you. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears a little bit now into going into the actual presentation. Excuse me, not presentation, demonstration. All right. Awesome, cool. Can folks see okay? Great, awesome. Alrighty, so this is, if you have never logged into Interstride before, you wanna go ahead and first go to student.interstride.com. I just threw that link in the chat for you, but we do have a single sign-on integrated with Tufts. So for example, if I try logging in with a tufts.edu account right now, I'm going to get redirected to your single sign-on page. So here's where I would put in my university credentials for Tufts to go ahead and log in from that point. I am not a Tufts student, so that is where my example ends in that regard. I'm going to use my own credentials. If you do already have signed in with if you've already created your profile, you are able to log in with your LinkedIn if that is something that you want to do. But when you log in, this is what you are greeted with. This is something where this is the dashboard. I just saw a question that said, how long do you get to keep your Tufts login information post-graduation? That is a great question. I do not know how long your Tufts information will be valid post-graduation, but when you create your account settings, we're putting this in our monthly newsletter all the time. We're very much informing students, reminding them, saying, hey, if you're going to lose your SSO credentials, make sure that you change your email in your account settings so it doesn't lock you out essentially. Or you can, again, integrate your LinkedIn so you could still sign in utilizing that. So just a thing before you, in case you ever feel like you're going to lose your SSO access, just make sure you change that on your email settings prior to that happening. But anyways, this is what the platform looks like when you first log in. You will see you're instantly greeted with some different news articles. So us as an organization are constantly sharing different news articles and information relevant to everything such as immigration support, career readiness, career journey, current hiring trends, stuff like that. So again, you'll see that this platform is really geared for international students. So you'll see most of these are pertaining to things such as, international student challenges and how to overcome them, or different hiring trends depending on certain visa information. So I encourage you to check those out. Again, we as an organization are constantly updating the homepage with new information. You'll see that we also do have little tidbits on the side here. So for example, we offer a orientation course, just in case you want to review some of those terms that we mentioned earlier, how to best utilize the platform. We also do have an immigration course. So if you want to click on one of these, again, it gives you just more information in terms of understanding some of those terms like CPT, OPT that I mentioned. So something to check out. Now you'll also see that really the platform is divided within 4 main sections. It's this jobs, network, learn, and tools. So this jobs is really going to go ahead and be the real bread and butter of Interstride. This was, at the end of the day, what the platform was built for, was to help international students find jobs within the US post-graduation. Let's skip this little tutorial. But when I click on that, you'll see I'm greeted with 4 different subsections, and I'll go ahead and showcase as to what that means. But we have a lot of different filters automatically put in place to help you with your job search process. So you'll see some of them are automatically in place. So for example, I have automatically this top 500 H-1B filter set here. The reason why is because we do know that about 80% of visa recipients are coming from these top 500 employers. So, those big names, your Amazon, your Google, your Bank of America, JP Morgan, those big names that are those top 500 companies, they are doing the vast majority of hiring and sponsorship when it comes to international talent. So we have that filter automatically set in place for students if international folks are looking just to predominantly narrow their search down within those large organizations. So if I'm looking at a finance type of position and I want to search specifically those top 500, you'll see again some familiar names. We got Siemens, we got Google, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley. So you'll see where most of those jobs are within those, where all those jobs are within that top 500 criteria. You can also narrow it down by state. So if you are looking to remain within the East Coast, you can go ahead and do that. You can also narrow it down by city. If you type in remote right here, you can go ahead and do that. For Rafida, your question, I just saw, does the UN, World Bank, and other intergovernmental organizations offer visa sponsorships? I would imagine as such as they do, but I do not have the specifics for that. That's all going to be dependent on everyone's own unique situation. So I don't want to give you a full-on answer for that, but I definitely would imagine that the World Bank does.
Yeah, and I could just chime in on that too. For UN, World Bank, and intergovernmental, the UN typically, I know, has G4 visa sponsorship, but they also, if you're looking for internships at the UN, they take international students all the time on your current status. So, and if you wanted more info, we could talk about that one-on-one in the Career Center too. Love to.
Thank you, Kelly. Moving where I was, that's one filter automatically to help out to narrow down your job search. But we also do have this other one called cap exempt. Now, cap exempt. So cap exempt is a great plan B for a lot of folks if the number one objective is to remain within the US, because while there is a cap to the number of visas that the US government gives out for H-1B, last year was about 80,000. For cap exempt, there is no limit in the amount of visas that the US government gives for these types of jobs, because the nature of these jobs are either higher education based or nonprofit based. So if I'm continuing my finance example and I want to search cap exempt opportunities, you will now see that suddenly my search criteria, we're looking at Cal State University, NYU, Michigan State, Loma Linda. So if your number one objective is to remain in the US and you want to look at alternative options for that, cap exempt can be a great opportunity. Now, I mentioned that this is a global job search process, and I will. So I mentioned that you have the opportunity to be able to look at work within the U.S. as well as also in any of these different countries. So if you are a student from, let's say, from India, and you want to look at opportunities both within the US and back home, if you change that country code to India, all of a sudden now my finance related positions are looking at opportunities in India. And of course, there might be some global opportunities through Ford, but maybe some different companies that you may or may not have heard of. But if you are someone who is looking at opportunities in different countries as well as the US, you'll notice that one filter that I had, that top 500 and cap exempt, those filters are specifically unique for the US because those are US based filters. So full disclosure on that. Also, if you are looking to have, 5 or 6 different search criterias, maybe your major is something where you can go into multiple different fields, or maybe you are looking for opportunities within multiple different countries. If you want to save those searches, and you can give it a name, and you can set up to have notifications on this search. So either on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis, or no notifications. So it just will be an email saying, hey, these are the new jobs that have been posted within the search criteria within the past week. If you save that, then all your job alerts for that will now be here. So I have a few as example purposes, but if I wanted to go ahead and search those within the search criteria that I had specifically for India. So if you don't want to have to worry about logging in and sorting through every single job that gets posted, because right now there's close to, I believe, 200,000 jobs on the platform. So if you don't want to have to worry about searching through all of that each time you log in, I recommend that you just save that search criteria down here and then sort it over here in the job alerts section. Now, if you are looking in terms of saying you're wanting to understand whether or not a company is international friendly in terms of they hire international talent, this is going to be a great tab for you. So this US Visa Insights tab is really going to be fantastic for you to be able to understand whether or not the company you're looking into has a history of sponsoring international talent for what types of jobs, and whether those jobs are more qualified, whether they're more entry level. So you can really get an in-depth analysis in terms of figuring out if you want to move forward with this company or not. So you'll see we can go ahead and play around with it. Right now, it is automatically sorted based off of, again, who has done the most sponsorship in the past. So right now, it's no surprise that Amazon is the #1 sponsorship when it comes to international talent. But if I clicked on Amazon, I can now get a more in-depth analysis in terms of how are they sponsoring people for what types of jobs, and I can see more of a deeper understanding as to whether those jobs are more entry level, qualified, experienced, and so on. So you'll see that Amazon has done they've done over 4,000 petitions alone for software engineers. So they, if that is within your major and you're curious about applying for a job there, they have definitely demonstrated that they walk the talk in that sense when it comes to hiring international talent for these types of positions. So you'll see, product manager. Okay, so they tend to be a little bit more on the qualified end or experience end. So if you have ample experience, or maybe you're coming from grad school, you definitely hit within that category. You'll see some of these jobs, for example, software engineer, that's just specifically software developers. But product manager, that's a little bit more vague, right? So you'll see down here, those are some of the jobs that encompass within that category. Each company is going to have a little blurb to the right of it, so you can get a little bit more of a deeper understanding of it. And if you also hit LinkedIn, that little LinkedIn button, it'll take you to their LinkedIn. So I want to see if I can log in for quick demonstration purposes. Okay, I'm gonna have to, I'm on incognito mode, but if you were to click this and you have your LinkedIn also signed in, then you can go ahead and browse that company's page. You can search Tufts within their search bar and see who all from Tufts has some form of a connection with Amazon. And you could start messaging folks. That's, again, utilizing your alumni network at your disposal. So that's definitely something that I recommend you checking out. So I got a question in the chat that says, I want to know about searching for internships. So again, when you go back to that search tab, if you hit position, you can either do full-time or internship. So just make sure you hit the internship and then go from your own search criteria at that point. But yeah, so this Visa Insights information is really going to go ahead and give you some great insight into different companies, different industries, and you can use that for your own research as you dive into your own career journey. So, for example, if I want to go ahead and continue my finance example, and if I'm looking within finance-related types of roles. So now I'm getting greeted by the companies who have done the most amount of hiring for international talent for finance-related positions. If I hit this map mode over here, I can see where those companies are. So if you are not necessarily bound geographically, and you want to go ahead and look at different opportunities, then you can go ahead and zoom in on the map. You'll get a little bit more detail opportunities the further you zoom in. So again, not really surprised that there are over 5,000 finance related jobs in New York City, right? One would expect that as such. But you can always zoom out and play around on the map mode if you just want to go ahead and see where opportunities are. If you are looking specifically within a certain region and you want to stay within that region, then you can look there. But I'm going to go back to list mode. And again, I'm going to go ahead and start viewing these different companies. So again, no surprise that some of the big ones are EY, Goldman Sachs, but I can find more as to how are they hiring for what types of jobs. So, okay, if I'm a business student and I'm looking at becoming an analyst post-graduation, I see Goldman Sachs has done over 1,000 sponsorships for analyst type roles for international folks. That is great. If I want to move forward with this company, if I scroll to the top, right now we're on petition. If I hit position right here, now I'm greeted for job openings within this company, and I could apply right then and there. So if I can scroll through these, see if any of these are up my alley, see if they work for my own major, and I can hit apply and go from there. So if you want to search by company and do research in terms of whether or not that company has a history of taking on international folks, and if so, for what types of jobs, then this is where you'd want to go ahead and do that research. So it kind of takes away the busyness on what is already a pretty vulnerable process. Okay, and then lastly, part of the jobs tab is this country insights. This is where you can go ahead and find out what it means to live and work for any of these countries over here. So if you're interested in also maybe going into the United Kingdom post-graduation, if you click on that, then you're greeted with information such as cost of living or immigration or work and visa permits required, or what does healthcare look like. So a good general overview in terms of what it means to live and work abroad within this country. So, and if that's something where you like and you're like, ooh, I want to explore that. Again, if you go back to that search criteria, and in that case, you would hit United Kingdom and start your search process. There. So again, you have a lot of different options available for you. We do know that the number one thing that most international students are looking for is to remain in the US, but not everyone. So this platform can really be used, it can really be geared to helping you on your own global search process. Can anyone with an account? This question was, is this website only for Tufts students, or can anyone with an account use it? So it is a university subscription, so it is university dependent. So any Tufts student has access to this, but if there is a student who is at a university who does not have access to Interstride, no, they would not be able to log in. But speaking of, you do have your own network piece for Tufts. So this next part of the platform network, your network is available and it's only going to be within fellow Tufts students. So if you want to be able to discover other folks that you can message, that you can coordinate with, that you can connect with one another, where you can share different ideas, this is where you would go ahead and do that. We do have different topics. So us as an organization have created quite a lot of different topics available, open to everyone on the network. Topics, consider it like Facebook groups. You know, it's a group that can be open or closed, and where people can share information on or post information about. So if there is a topic that you're like, I want to create my own, and if maybe it's something like Tufts Network. Right now I follow them all, but if you hit this little button and you can start your own topic. And again, you just give it a name. If you want it open to the network or if you want it closed, you just hit that. And then when you do that, now you can start inviting people. So just another opportunity for folks to be able to connect with one another. I should see another question. After graduation, you can use this as an alumni. Yes, you can. When you set up your profile, you input your graduation year, and then it will move you to alumni. The only thing is just making sure that you do change your email if you are going to lose access to your tufts.edu account, so you don't get logged out. Then you have to request permission, but don't have to worry about that. And then the next tab is the Learn tab. Here is where we are putting on a lot of webinars, a lot of giving a lot of resources specifically to help you out on your own job search process and journey. So we're actually doing webinars constantly, and there's some great ones here. So for example, towards the end of the month, job search strategy for international students, or US permanency residency options. We do family options for immigration sponsorship. We do a visa and immigration Q&A, where we're partnering with outside immigration attorneys to making sure you are getting the most up-to-date, accurate information. So I recommend that you browse some of these. You know, some of these are really outstanding webinars that can really help you in case you are curious about your own personal journey. Everyone's journey looks a little different, and sometimes that's stressful. So being able to talk about it, being able to learn about some of these key terms and dates can be very helpful in your own journey. So I recommend you check some of these out. Our recorded webinars, they end up here on our on-demand tab, so you can go ahead and check some of those out later. Again, the only difference is you won't be able to ask questions as opposed to the live one. But we do have different resources available. So we have a podcast that we talk about different topics pertaining to, again, career readiness or immigration support or what's going on in the workplace. You know, we have some more resources available just talking about immigration support. So when I mentioned at the beginning, CPT, OPT, STEM OPT, if you're like, what does that mean? You can find more information about that here. So again, just more resources available for you to help you on your own journey. We do have different services available. So like scholarships, checking out international friendly scholarships. So just certain things to look at on your own time. And then lastly, we have our tools. So our tools, we do have a checklist available. So everything just to kind of help you keep yourself on track for your own journey, everything from the very beginning of the job search process all the way to the end, through things such as salary negotiation, right? Those are tough conversations to have. So some good things to go ahead and take a look at. You can cross these off as like completed, or you can add your own personal new task. So it's all very customizable to your liking. Normally within the section 2, we do have a calendar. So that is under maintenance right now because we are setting up a book an appointment feature. But you can sync your calendar too, and it will show up as like your to-do items or stuff like that. And then we also do have a career game plan. Now, this is a self-assessment based off of NACE's core competencies. Now, NACE is essentially they're an association of colleges and employers who have studied different recruitment tactics and looking at different characteristics that are, or the most common characteristics that employers look for when hiring students. So these are those competencies that they have that they identified. So this self-assessment gives you a little bit of an understanding as to where you lie within each of these categories. I really like this because for me, I think it puts you in the mindset of your search process of interviewing. If someone asks you, tell me about yourself and how would you describe your communication style, and it's like, I don't know how to, like we're automatically kind of starting off on the wrong foot. So this gives you the vernacular to be able to articulately describe your communication style. So this can be just a great tool to kind of just pump yourself up, get you in that mindset, get you ready for your own journey as you start to embark upon it. Okay. So that is the breakdown of Interstride. So again, it is divided within these four main tabs here. And again, each of them differ a little. Your jobs tab, that's really going to be your main source of finding opportunities. And again, you can do that through a myriad of different ways, either those filters that we talked about, or doing the research of the company through the US Visa Insights. If you want to look at opportunities abroad, you can go ahead and do that there. Again, setting up those job alerts. Network, really the opportunity for you to be able to connect with other students and being able to discuss or share resources with one another. Learn and tools, those are where you're really going to be able to find additional resources for you, such as webinars or that career checklist. I recommend that y'all continue to play around with this. I will say I do not consider myself the most tech savvy individual, but the second, third time I logged in, it's very intuitive. There's a lot to explore. And there's a lot to find out. So I just recommend that as you have that opportunity, that you take some time over the next, shortly after our presentation, just to get used to it on your own time. But I'm going to take a moment to stop sharing. I know that was a lot of information all at once, so I'm sure it's a lot to digest, but I know Kelly and I wanted to give an opportunity to see if there are any questions, or if anyone here has any questions about Interstride.
Yeah, and thank you. Just thank you so much, Kendall. That was so helpful, and informative to go into all the different tabs to show how you could search by jobs, by insights into countries, all different strategies. I love that. And before we have a couple of questions, I wanted to mention, I did see in the chat somebody asking about what CAP exempt meant. And you, Kendall, correct me. I understand it it's certain employers are not subject to sort of the filing, the fiscal calendar of when they have to file, so they can file a petition at any time. And those tend to be like universities, nonprofits, maybe government research. But what would you say on that one?
Yeah, and CAP exempt are the nature of the work is different. It's again, as Kelly just mentioned, nonprofit higher education. So due to the nature of that work, the US government does not have a limit in the amount of visas for international talent for those types of jobs. Again, they have to be within that CAP exempt category. It can't be, I got a job at Amazon, can we just apply it as CAP exempt? They're gonna be like, no. So if you are looking for opportunities, or again, if that can be another plan B, or also maybe even a lot of times it could be a little grad school, if you're looking for opportunities while you're also looking to continue your education. So
Great. And I'll also thank you for that. And I would also mention for resources in addition to all of this, if you go to our Career Center website, careerstufts.edu, and I'll just mention that in the chat there. You can also look up under the identity-based resources. There's a drop down specifically for you, for international students. And we do have a login to the portal of Interstride on that page as well. So you can find it that way. When you're looking to either log into Interstride or create your account, you can go through our website as well as going to the link that Kendall mentioned. We also have information about the Global Jumbos Network. So talking about networking and connecting with others that are international. And then we also have a link to the International Center. So if you have any of those immigration pressing questions about OPT, CPT, STEM, refer you to go to the International Center as well and talk Andy Shiatani's office about those questions if you have concerns. If you're also looking to just work on your resume, and you want to kind of get that together, we do have Career Lab every day from 12 to 2 in Dowling. So it's Suite 740. So just want to mention that too, that you're welcome to come by as you're doing these job search online through Interstride and you're thinking about putting your resume together and cover letter. We can help you with that. So I'd like to turn it over to anybody. You can raise your hand or put a question in the chat. If anybody has any questions, I'd like to open that up for that now. And in the meantime, I also wanted to ask you, Kendall, for strategies for international students, do you say, you kind of touched upon it when you were going through the tutorial, the typical strategy, sort of how you approach it would be, would you say it would be like CPT to OPT? And what's that flow that you kind of, with all the education that you provide for students about that, on how to approach?
Yeah, I mean, normally I would say a general approach is using CPT while you're in school, while you're enrolled, because CPT doesn't apply when you're no longer enrolled. So CPT is essentially curricular practicum training where you are able to have a form of employment for pertaining to your degree. So for example, field work or internship, if you need to do those things as part of your degree requirements, CPT allows you to be able to move forward with those things. Now, OPT gives you a little bit more of opportunity to be able to work post-graduation within the US. It kind of like gives you a little bit of a, think of kind of like a buffer room before you have to start applying for that H-1B visa. Now, some fields, they do get an extension. So for the STEM extension, some folks can get up to an additional 24-month extension if you are within that STEM field. And do not directly quote me on that. And again, this is where it's very important for you to do your own individual research because everyone's situation is going to be unique. But they have recently started looking into business fields, looping that in for that STEM extension. So if you are within that business field, you may suddenly now be available to get that additional STEM OPT extension.
Oh, great. That's good to know. And I think through attending some of those webinars you mentioned, people can get the latest immigration advice, hearing about it from your portal, and also for all your specific situations, visit the international office at Tufts for those questions. Looks like we have a question here. I have a question about H-1B, and let's see here. So the question is, as a STEM major, we get an extra 2 years of OPT. So how do we move forward into an H-1B? So some of these very specific immigration questions, we might defer them to Andy's office if we don't want to give out, because everybody, like Kendall said, immigration is very specific to your situation. We can paint broad strokes, right, about in general how you can go for this. But do you have any comments on that, Kendall, in terms of Interstride?
Yeah, so I mean, again, a lot of those are also going to be tied in with your employer. So if you do have an OPT with your employer and they're looking to give you an H-1B, that is something where that will be through them,
Mhm.
through their own hiring process, because they also have to petition. They also have to do sponsorship. Um, so in terms of being able to extend your OPT from different while changing your jobs. Again, I would look into that before doing that. I don't want to give you a false answer with this regard, but I know a lot of times those visas or that OPT in is in line with that job that you got. So if you leave that job, then it may no longer be applicable.
Right, right. And I would concur and say that's part of the strategy. And we can talk about, career strategy in terms of when you're in a job for OPT and you're thinking about you could check in Interstride, see if they're H-1B friendly, right? And kind of think about as part of your strategy before you work for certain companies so that the chances of it moving into an H-1B are very high. Such as if you had an internship at Amazon, like you mentioned, they're really do a lot of petitions every year, your chances of it moving to H-1B are really great. So that's part of your strategy as you're thinking about it. So the next question is, how does the STEM extension work? Can I change jobs from my OPT? So this would be a great question for the international office because they will, I'm wearing my old hat, knowing when these get complicated. To not misspeak about this. But the international office can definitely answer a question like this, how to apply, the application process. And you have to have a STEM major based on your SIP code on your I-20 document if you're an F1 student to qualify. So you can check all that stuff out through the international office. And then can I change jobs from my OPT? Yeah, if you are going from OPT to STEM, that's a great question for you to ask about that transition with the international office, because it can get kind of complicated. Let's see, the next question. If we do get a 2-year extension with STEM OPT, but it goes beyond the length of our F1 visa, do we have to reapply for a visa? So this one again is very specific immigration question, and I'm not trying to deflect these, but because I do have the knowledge of my past working with international students, I know that these can be sort of nuanced or very complicated answers, and so I would defer that one also to Andy Shiratone's office for the international, because if you get a 2-year extension with STEM, and then your F1 visa is good while you're here, it can expire while you're here, but you have to keep your status, and that's related to your STEM extension or your OPT. So I think I defer that one to the international office. Let's see the next one. I'm a first-year grad student this fall. I was told that CPT needs to be applied after one academic year. Does that mean I can apply for an off-campus internship during the summer? Do I need to get relevant documents from my internship company to apply for CPT? So I could speak to that in terms of for Tufts side, CPT is very specific to your program. And so every program's different with CPT. So that one, in general, the rules around CPT is you have to have, like you said, 1 year in this country, but there's many caveats to that. If you're a transfer student and you've already accumulated that 1 year from previous institution. So again, just to let you know that these can be very specific to your situation. So that one I would also defer to the international office to answer. But CPT, Kendall, you can find internship opportunities, as you mentioned, right, for Interstride when you are ready, when you get that CPT authorization, you can dive in and do that searching by internship.
Absolutely.
And yeah, do I need to get relevant documents from my internship company? typically, I know you have to get an offer letter from your company, but again, you should talk to the international office to find out what they require as part of that application. Great. Yes. Yeah. Awesome. And see if there's any other questions. I had one, Kendall, in the meantime. I was just curious if someone goes in and sets up their account and they're just maybe they had a technical issue, or they just want to know, who do they go to ask a question about Interstride. Just want to know what you'd recommend.
Yeah, so I would recommend two routes. We do have like a little messaging bot on the homepage that they can work through. There's also a form on that in case the question isn't applicable, or they can always contact @interstride.com. That is our main support email.
Great, awesome. And just a reminder to everybody that there are ways that we have as well for getting in touch with alumni. There's something called the Herd, and you can get to that through our careers.tufts.edu webpage, where these are 2,300 alumni that are eager to talk to you, and there are international students in there as well. And you can search and join some global groups through the Herd. So recommend that. If you have any questions, let us know in the Career Center. And also we have a big Tufts LinkedIn group, which has 80,000 alum in there. So if you want to connect, you can tap into us to find out about that. So yeah, so is there anything else, like, Kendall, that you think, you didn't get a chance to share, that you think of as any tips or tricks for the international students?
Really, I would just say, explore the sites, see what works for you. Start early. I mean, the fact that we're all here is great. And if you have questions or something, just know that you have a lot of resources at your fingertips. So just make sure that you utilize them at Tufts, through Interstride, whatever it may be.
Great. Okay, so can we get the link for the Tufts LinkedIn group? Let me see. I will follow up with you, Rafida, to get that. It has to, because I have my LinkedIn, I'm not logged in, so I think I will have a little bit of an issue to send that to you, but I definitely will follow up with you and send that out. And anybody else is interested, I'll send it in a group chat, so we'll have that. And it's a great way, you're welcome, it's a great way for you to search for alum at the companies that you're strategically targeting. So it's another great resource. So if nobody has any other questions, I just want to wrap this up and thank again, Kendall, for your time today. And this is recorded, so we have all this great information to be watching. If you're logging in and you can't remember how to get to that network tab or how to do that job internship search, you can go and we'll have this posted up on our website. And thank you all for joining us. And like I said, if there's any thing that we can do to help serve you even better, please let me know, drop me an email. My email is kelly.roberts@tufts.edu. And with that, I just wish you all a wonderful afternoon, and thank you again.
Thank you all.
Right. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.